And at this time, it is my pleasure to welcome Chris Koss. Chris is the chair of the Hudson's Community Affairs Committee, and he will moderate today's program. So please join me in welcoming Chris.
Thanks, Mary Claire. And from the Community Relations Committee, we're so excited to see so many people here today. Our Community Relations Committee started about 2 years ago, really made up of some leaders from the community that really want to look at what are the impacts that are affecting all of our chamber members from a local, county, state, and federal level. And so we meet on a monthly basis, and a lot of our conversation right now is around housing and transportation and some of those things. But if you're interested, let us know. We're always looking for those people that would want to join what we're doing. So along with this morning, we're happy to have our community leaders with us. And we will give just a quick background information from each of them, and then we'll go into some questions. And then please write questions because they are here for you today. So any question you want to ask them will be great. So I'm going to start with the town of Hudson. Chairman Tim Foster. He retired after 35 years with Anderson Windows and delivers flowers for the Hudson Flower Shop. Additionally, he has served on the town board for 31 years and has been town chair since 2021. Has taken on many roles within the Hudson Hockey Association, including president, served on parks, intergovernmental, and planning and zoning commissions, and served as the chair for the Hudson Fire Commission and St. Croix EMS. Thank you for being here today, Tim. Town of St. Joseph, Chair Theresa Johnson. We can clap for her as well. She has served as town chair for the last 6+ years and 8 years prior with a short break between. She was reelected in April of 2023. She served on various organizations, including being appointed to 3 terms on the District Investigative Committee for the Office of Lawyer Regulation under the Wisconsin Supreme Court. I did not know that, Theresa. Town of Troy, Chairperson Doug Rowen. He was previously the town supervisor for 2 years. He has lived in Troy since 1999. He has 4 children and 2 grandchildren. He is a retired 3M business leader. He and his wife board horses, and he has a passion for the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway. Please welcome Doug this morning. And from the city of Hudson, Mayor Rich O'Connor. Rich O'Connor was born and raised in St. Paul. He graduated from the University of Notre Dame, which he lets us know very often.
Go Irish.
He spent 12 years in the Minnesota House of Representatives. He's a former regional vice president with Citigroup, as well as the former regional vice president with M&I Bank. He founded his own financial advisory business in 2010, which he retired from at the end of 2022. He has served in various capacities on local boards, including the Hudson Hospital Foundation, Hudson Library Board, Hudson Library Foundation Board, and Hudson Hockey Association. He was elected mayor in 2016, to which he is currently serving his 4th term. In 1999, he and his wife Cindy moved to Hudson with their 3 children. Welcome, Rich. And from the village of North Hudson, President Stan Wekkin. He was born and raised in Hudson. He attended St. Pat's for grades 1 through 8, graduated from Hudson High School in 1972, and attended UWRF. He retired from 3M after 31 years in 2014. President Wekkin has served 2.5 terms as village trustee. He was elected to village president in 2013, in which he is currently serving his 7th term. He has also served on the New Richmond Golf Club, Hudson Rod, Gun, and Archery Club, and has sat on the board of directors for the Hudson Senior Citizens. He and his wife Mary reside in North Hudson, where they built their current home in 1984. They've been married since 1980 and have 2 sons, Adam and Joseph. We want to thank all of you for being here this morning and sharing with us what's going on in your communities. We have a number of questions that we have provided them beforehand. But first, we're going to ask each of them to share about 3 minutes on a brief city or township update. And we're going to start up here, right to my right. Actually, no, I got to follow my rules here. We're going to start with Chairman Tim Foster. If you can give us an update.
Town of Hudson, our population in 2024 is 8,861, so we're still the 3rd largest municipality in St. Croix County. It's just in order. It's the city of Hudson, the city of Richmond, the town of Hudson, and the town of Troy. So we are a large area here on this side of the county. Inflation this year, with all of the interest rate increases, building has slowed somewhat, so we only had 10 new home starts in 2023. More people did remodeling and things and stayed in their homes. Oakwood Dental, which was renting space from the Community National Bank across the street, moved into a new facility on Leonard's Road. It's a very beautiful facility that they just moved in there. Road construction in the town of Hudson this summer on the east end of McCutcheon Road. They've already started that one. They're widening it because it's a minor collector by state statutes. We're widening Gilbert Road because it's got a lot of traffic on it. And we're resurfacing White Oak, which is off of Gilbert, and Countryside, which is off of Gilbert. We're just widening them. Probably the biggest concern for the community, just like the I-94 deal, I was telling David when I walked in, WisDOT didn't know about that until the day before MnDOT started that project. And that's why the signage wasn't very good. However, I'd like to notify you that you would have probably had the same problem. Originally, on the corner of McCutcheon Road and County Road A by the Hudson Town Hall, that's a busy intersection. We've had several people hit there during elections especially. They're putting a roundabout in. It was supposed to start April 1st. The state released the bid for August 1st. So that road will be closed from Burkhart to U and A because the county's going to tear up that portion of A because they said it's the best time they can possibly do it, just because there's not going to be any traffic on it. So during that period, the bypass, when you create a detour, you cannot detour roads on anything that's a lesser highway. So if it's a county road, they can only detour on county roads. And the logic to that is, I'll explain that in a second, if it's a town road, etc., and state highways. So the detour is to go down to Roberts at 65 and come up E and over to 12. You know what I mean? So it's not, people aren't going to drive that. So they're going to go down Troutbrook Road and Scott Road and LaBarge. So what we're going to do is we're going to post those roads, just like the city had to do when they found out that all those semis were coming down Vine and 2nd Street. We're going to post those roads so that trucks don't come down them. Okay, so we're going to be doing that during that period, but we know that that's where people are going to travel, and it's going to be busy and it's going to be hectic. And the booster ball fields are used all summer long. I don't even want to think about that because we're going to put barriers between our parking lot at the town hall. Otherwise, that'd turn into County Road A. So that's happening. We updated our comprehensive plan. So that's good till 2040. You'll periodically update it. That says what the community's doing. We did have a larger, in somewhat minor developments, 28 lots north of the Hunt Electric building. However, it's been 2 years in the making, and the reason for it is the DNR has put a deep well casing advisory on because of the contaminated water from the Junker landfill and the North Lake plumes. And what that means is they have to drill through the aquifer of water, seal it with concrete, and then drill down to the next aquifer, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get water. Those wells cost $55,000 to $60,000. So those 28 lots will probably have multiple homes on one well, which is unusual, but that's the only way they can handle it. And the only other thing we did that was major was in 2023, we remodeled our town hall, added office space, we added storage space, and increased the vault size. That's it. Thank you.
Tim, I'm not used to you going long. So,
I know.
Nice update. Same question to Chair Theresa Johnson.
The town of St. Joseph is the smaller of the three townships here, but we also have the highest growth. We're growing between 4% and 6% a year. We're at about 4,400 residents, of which 3,400 of them are voters. So you know that we don't have a whole lot of children in those houses. Many people have aged in their houses, like my husband and I have, who've been there almost 30 years, and our kids are gone, and we're still there because we bought a house that would handle us in our later years, so to speak. We knew that the St. Croix River crossing would have a great impact on the town, and it continues to do so. We just received a concept on 110 acres near 3564. It's a farm field right now, so I wouldn't say it's the most beautiful piece of land to put houses on, but that's their intent to do so. So major plats are still coming in. There's some in the works I get notified on, but lots of minors, lots and lots of minors, of people who owned 10 and 20 acres and are subdividing it off because they can at this time. Growth has not slowed down for the town, and it won't, and I believe it won't, because of where we're located and that we have some of the last land available in the school district of Hudson. We have also the school district of New Richmond and Somerset, but that school district of Hudson is a big deal for the town of St. Joseph. All of that growth has pushed the town into looking at our space needs. And last November, we approved building a new town hall. We let the bid out and awarded it on May 2nd to Berghammer Builders out of Clayton, Wisconsin, who built the St. Croix County maintenance garage out in Baldwin. So they're well-known in the area. They will start shortly. It will be across the parking lot, south of the existing hall now. And it is going to be a building of about 100 by 62 feet wide. We hope that it will hold us for the next 25 to 30 years, and it will have the ability to add on to it. We're turning our town hall over to the fire department. They're bursting at the seams, even though we have now are going down from 4 big rigs to 3 because we just purchased a new fire truck that is an engine in the front and a tanker in the back. It's a new combo rig. We purchased it 2 years ago, and we laugh about this because we purchased it and paid for it up front, which saves you about 10% of the price. It cost us $810,000, and today that truck is $1.1 million. And we just got it delivered last week, so we're excited. Pushed it into the garage. Our new town hall is about $2.6 million when we get done with it. We borrowed $2.25 to build it, and we had the rest of the funds in stock. I saw it in the bank to take care of it. So we're happy about that, and we were able to do it with additional funding that it didn't impact the residents except for $3 $100,000. So that on a $500,000 home, you can understand what minimal amount it was to that taxpayer. We have new red doors on the town hall. If you've been down by the town hall in the last week or two, they have brand new red doors. Unknown to me, no one told me that those are the original doors on that town hall 47 some years ago. And so we finally have new doors that automatically open and automatically close behind the trucks as they take off. So that's fabulous. We're upgrading ordinances. We're dealing with incidences where people are moving into the town and doing things they shouldn't do. It's always amazing to me that people move out to the country and think no one notices. We've had some manufacturers shut down in the town where they're manufacturing things they can't in that area, and we try to put them where they should belong, so to speak, because we do have it all planned out. So it's been quite interesting. We have one new member of our board, Dan Gavin, who used to be chair of the town, has rejoined us after he retired, and he's now a supervisor. And Justin Cruz was reelected this last year. And we're very happy to have a good group of staff who've been with us now for 3 to 5 years, which in the world of clerks and treasurers is not well known because they come and go sometimes faster than you'd like. And of course, as in all of us, we're looking forward to the November election, which is going to be a big deal for all of our municipalities, and road construction, as he stated. The town of St. Joseph, it does 10-year cycle on roads. We are not going to do our next road cycle until 2029. But in the meantime, if you were like me today, I whipped out of my road and met County on County Road V because they're ripping that up today. This is their new thing today is County Road V. Don't drive there today because it's all being ground up. E was last couple weeks, now it's V. So get ready, everybody. It's summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Mayor Rich O'Connor, you're up.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be here. I think what I'd like to do is kind of discuss things that I usually get questions about. Obviously, we start with what's going on with road construction right now on the bridge. We have no control over that whatsoever. Tim kind of alluded to the signage. One of the interesting things is that the DOT can come in, do things with their highways, and not provide us with any advance notice necessarily, which has happened. But more importantly is when they start changing and rerouting, they don't provide us with the signage to provide detour information to people, and that's something we have to do on our own. So we apologize for everything that's going on in town right now with regard to the detours, but that is way out of our control. This is unlike any of the other freeway reconstruction that's done, in that because it's a bridge, they cannot create temporary roadways like you'll see out on the freeway between, I think the segment now is going to be between Radio Drive, Woodbury, up to Century, and they'll provide different temporary routes to get around that. Can't do that with a bridge. So we're going to have to just suffer through this for the next month, probably month and a half. The downtown buildings, the old scuba shop, we had a couple buildings down there that Gerard Brothers had owned. They wanted to do, they actually provided us with a couple different iterations of work that they wanted to do downtown. One was a boutique hotel. They said the numbers didn't work on that, and then they came in with some designs for apartments. The numbers didn't work for any of the iterations that they provided us. And so they sold the buildings. We at the city have no idea right now what's going to happen with those buildings. I've been told that the new owners have like 5 or 6 different ideas, but they have not shared any of those with us at the city so far. The dog track. How many years have we been doing this? I say this every year, but I tell you what people tell me. There will be baseball. And they've got, once again, they've run into a couple glitches, but the original proposer of baseball is back in the mix. And so they still have the franchise with the league, and they're hoping to get started on the ballpark here pretty soon. They also ran into problems with Liftbridge Brewery that was going to be coming in alongside of the stadium, and Liftbridge, it's my understanding, has run into some financial difficulties in putting together a package where they can develop the building on that site. We really obviously want to have both of those entities there. I think it's very important to the city. Liftbridge Brewery in particular, I mean, we all love baseball. I'd love to see that, but the Liftbridge Brewery would provide our city with event space, convention space, and that is sorely needed here, obviously, especially with the sale and demolition of the Hudson House. So anyway, we're hoping that we see some progress on that. People want to know what happened with the Gagnon proposal downtown, and that proposal involved the entire block where Associated Bank is. That proposal ended up in court. There were variances that were granted by our Zoning Board of Appeals, and those variances were challenged immediately in court. Court threw out 5 of the 8 variances that were granted. And it was kind of an interesting decision, I thought, on the part of the court, because they didn't really look at, and I don't think this got publicized at all. I don't think this was in any of the news articles. But the court determined that by statute, the DNR is the proper venue to be filing variance requests, and that only the DNR can grant a variance request. Well, the DNR has made it very clear to the city for as long as I've been here, that's for sure, but we go back and forever, the DNR has said that they do not weigh in on any variances, do not approve any projects or variances, nor do they disapprove. They give us a 30-day window in which we would apply for a comment from the DNR, and they have 30 days in which to comment. If they do not comment, it is like tacit approval. If they do comment, then they state what their opinion is, but it is not a approval or rejection. And in fact, the city, me personally, asked the DNR specifically before the Zoning Board of Appeals took up the Gagnon project variance requests, if they would approve or disapprove of the variances. And they once again reiterated to us that that is not the process, and they do not provide any approval or rejection of a request. Interestingly, however, they did comment, and they did send a letter to the Zoning Board of Appeals that they received either the day of or the day before the meeting, saying that they wanted NR 118, which is the regulatory authority for that part of downtown on the Riverway, saying that they wanted them to just abide by NR 118. But there could have been different interpretations of how the measurements for height in particular would be viewed, and that was what was considered by the Zoning Board of Appeals. So, not only did the courts determine that overturn 5 of the 8 variance requests, but they are now imposing a new restriction on the DNR that the DNR has never followed before. And so the DNR is in a bit of a quandary because they do not want to provide either an approval or a rejection of any of these requests. But by statute, they're supposed to. So we don't know how far back this practice of usage goes, but that has been the system for some time. Contrary to what was publicized, the City Council did not take this issue up at all. We could not provide variances. The process meant that it had to go through the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is a quasi-judicial board, and so the City Council never even had this in front of them other than plan designs that were provided by Mr. Gagnon at 1 or 2 of the meetings way in advance of the requests that went to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So anyway, to kind of bring you up to date on this story, the Gagnons have now come in with another design that is dropping the top floor off. They still have some variance requests, however, and we've told them you should probably try not to have a project that is going to involve variances, especially with brand new rules that are being applied to the DNR. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at with Gagnon. There will be more to come when their new proposals are made public.
And Mayor Connor, I'm going to stop you right now. We'll let you continue with later questions.
That was just that was number 2.
And I let you go. Chairperson Rowen, you're up.
Okay, thanks for having us this morning. Town of Troy is about 5,500 people, so as Tim mentioned, we're the 4th largest municipality in St. Croix County. We're continuing to see residential growth in Troy, although it has slowed somewhat due to interest rates and market dynamics. 2023, we had 21 new housing starts, so slower than previous years, but still robust. 2 so far in 2024, but we're seeing a lot more activity picking up. The Plan Commission's been very busy the last month or so, so we're seeing more stuff going on. The Troy condominium garages are getting close to completing their Phase 2 expansion, which means, you know, we're hoping to see Phase 3 come at some point in time. So we're seeing a lot of activity in that development. We've had a number of staffing changes in the town. Most recently in December, we hired Ben Jansen, our town administrator, who came this morning. If anybody wants to meet him, you can wave Ben. And we are currently starting the process to hire a new park ranger. So if anybody wants to be a park ranger in Troy, let us know. We did upgrade our recycling center, both building capacity and updated our vendors to try to offer better service to our residents. And we're always continuing to explore innovative ways to maintain our 100 miles of roads, which is a constant challenge. We've got our normal road projects this summer. I'm not going to iterate those, but the big one that's going to happen in Troy is County Road F from Cooley Trail down to M is going to be redone by the county this summer. We don't have exact timing yet, but so that's another major thoroughfare that you can expect some delays. It will not be closed, but it's going to be completely resurfaced this summer sometime. So that's a big thing happening. We're working on streamlining and optimizing our land use and zoning processes. We think there's some improvements that can be made there, as well as some ordinance updates. We've been looking for more robust frameworks to allow our property owners to develop our commercial corridor along Highway 35. We've had some activity along those lines, but we've also had feedback from developers that there's maybe some better processes that we can use as a town to make that more effective. So that's something we're looking at. Redesigned our website with expanded information, specifically focused on promoting the outdoor recreational activities and event and meeting capacity that we have in the town of Troy, as well as the St. Croix Riverway resources, which is one of our gems. We're improving our town signage, and like you've heard from others, we are beginning the planning and design for a town hall expansion. With the growth that we're seeing in population and activities, we see some needs there as well. So those are some of the big things that are going on. Aside from that, reinforcing our rural character and balancing that with the growth that's being required, and trying to really get ready for all the summer festivals and activities that go on in Troy every year. So happy to answer questions later when we get to that.
Thank you, Chairperson Rowen. And President Wekkin, same question.
Same
Update
question.
North Hudson.
Well, you won't have to time me on this, I'll tell you that. North Hudson is still, we're 1 mile square. We're running out of property to build on. We've had Derrick 3 is just about full right now, and then we call it the Zappa 40 that Gary's still working on plans for that section. So the northeast portion of the village is soon to be full, I think. We haven't had, like I said, we're 1 mile square. We're 3,800, between 3,800 and 3,900 people. We had a change in personnel. We have a new administrator and a new public works director who have been far exceeded our expectations on running the village and in the public works. We're at, I don't like to say it, but we're at full staff right now with the public works, the police department, and the administration. We've had a new restaurant that has changed over the years. Is 501 the Tavern, which is right at the stoplights in the village, and we will. Well, it's been going to open for the last several months, but people have seen that it was supposed to be Mexican. It was going to be El Oro, but now it's a Giovanni's Italian restaurant. So we will have new Italian in the village of North Hudson, and we're excited for those coming in. There's no update on, I know people are interested what's happening with Cozy Corner, that we had fire, last year, and that's still between the insurance and lawyers. It's still kind of tied up, so I don't have any updates on that. And I really don't think there's an awful lot else going on. I mean, we're small, and we don't have a lot of growth going on like the rest of our municipalities around us.
You've got 16 seconds left. Way to go. Okay, so the Community Relations Committee came up with these questions that we're going to ask moving forward. You'll have 2 minutes to answer these questions. Mary Claire will wave her paper when you have 1 minute left. And when you hear the alarm go off, we're going to ask that you wrap it up so we can get all the questions in today, because we've already got a handful of questions from those attending today. So the first question is going to go back to you, Chairman Foster. Economic development. What are you doing to develop a vision, drive, and plan in collaboration with neighboring communities?
Well, the difficulty with economic development within the communities is we're independent and our zoning is always different, and therefore it's not really something that develops that as a community effort. It really doesn't. Most of the time, if something's going to happen, it happens in the city more than in the town, and it does. And a lot of times, the land that maybe would be developed, it'll develop with the city rather than the town. It gets annexed in, and part of the logic behind that is the sewer and water. And a lot of businesses want sewer and water. And I'll give the example. We haven't heard anything. We think, that's all we hear is that we think. The school property is looked at by Derrick Construction, and it will more than likely annex into the city. That will never develop as Town of Hudson land. I don't believe that. It's the way it is. It's just like when Stan Zappa's 40 acres, that was Town of Hudson land originally, and it's been annexed into the village. And that's how cities and villages grow their size. They take land from the towns. And that's how the process works. So I'm sorry, I don't know. We still try to create more I'll give you one right now. It's going to our planning commission. Indu, which is a commercial flooring operation, was in the City of Hudson Industrial Park. When Phoenix Fixtures moved over to Baldwin to increase their size, Indu moved over into the Town of Hudson. They're coming to our planning commission this month with a 30,000 square foot facility on the corner of 12 and 12 out there by North Lake. And so that some ways there's development going on, but it happens not in unison between the municipalities. That's all. That's it.
Wow, you were right on. So if we would adjust that question a little bit, is what's your plan or vision for development in your community? And if you're partnering, or how can you partner with fellow communities? So 2 parts to that is what's your plan and vision for economic development, and how can partnership with our local communities help? So Chair Johnson, you're up.
The town of St. Joseph, through their comprehensive planning process and through their zoning, have taken that 130 acres that's between Highway 35, Highway 64, and County Road E at the top where the school is, and that big triangle, we have determined that that's going to be where our industrial commercial area is going to be, along with the other 2 corners of the interchange. And the 2 corners of the interchange would be east of the school and southeast of the school. The school corner would not be developed. It already has park on there and the school itself, although there is a strip of land along 64 to the north there that has been already purchased by a developer. All of that land is being farmed at this point, but we know that that changes. The farmers in the town of St. Joseph are aging, so we determined that if instead of having commercial property popping up across the town, we would consolidate it in that one area where they have access to major roads and major infrastructure. We are in discussions right now with WisDOT to get the necessary connections onto 35. That's our biggest issue, is that the state requires a 2,000-foot separation, which can lock landowners out, and we have some major landowners along there that want to have access. So we are working with them to get proper access to that particular industrial commercial area, but also further down. We have an advantage, is that unlike the rest of them here, we're not up against anyone but the townships. We don't abut the village or any city. So we're kind of on our own in that respect, and so we put this particular development over near the interchange because we felt that that was the best place it should be.
Thank you. Mayor O'Connor, same question.
Well, a lot of this has been covered, I guess, especially with regard to the rules by the previous speakers. We have a comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan was by law just recently updated. Comprehensive plan allows for, or kind of designates, properties that we would anticipate requests for annexation from. We do have a couple out there that have been, one that's just coming in. We have another one that that kind of fell through a while back. There was the Lockney property just south of the dog track. They had a housing project proposal that came to the city. We didn't, once again, it was just provided to the city. We didn't approve it, didn't disapprove it. We didn't have an opportunity to take a shot at it. The developers just brought it in and expressed to us what their plans were for the property. The sale of the property actually fell through, so obviously the development didn't happen. There's another piece of property that is just to the east of them that is, the developer is now in the process of bringing their proposal to us, and we just saw it at our last meeting, and it is for housing. And it would require annexation, but they haven't applied for that yet. So that's how development happens, economic development, when you have a city like ours that we're at our geographic borders. And the only way we're going to have any expansion, any development, is when property owners come in with proposals for annexation and with their ideas of what they want to do with that property. Housing is very difficult. Developments today, as you know, cost of construction is exceptionally high. The cost of property anywhere in the area that's represented here at this table is exceptionally high, and which means that more condensed, higher density housing is what people are proposing right now, and it's quite frankly, that's probably what we need more than anything at this point.
You can wrap it up.
So we've got good relationships with our neighbors. We don't entertain any type of annexation requests without dialogue with the area in which the property, the jurisdiction within the property resides. So I think we've got great rapport with our neighbors, and we look for economic expansion, and I'm sure it's going to continue to happen.
Thank you. Chairperson Rowen.
So within Troy, our general focus is to look at the market segments that we can best serve, given that we're sandwiched in between two cities, the city of Hudson and the city of River Falls. We try not to duplicate the things that the cities do really well, but focus on the things that we can do really well. And so housing market segment, we've got a wide variety of secluded residential and rural neighborhoods. That's something we can do that's hard to do in a city, but it is something that's a real market segment that consumers are looking for. Regional outdoor recreation and event destination is the other thing that Troy is great at. We've got 1,300 acres currently that are allocated to outdoor recreation activities. That's something we can do uniquely, and that doesn't even count our 6.5 miles of St. Croix Riverway. So, we've got a outdoor recreation capability that others don't have. We are proud of our agricultural heritage, and we want to try to get as much industry that's compatible with that. But also we've defined along Highway 35 our industrial corridor, and we're looking at all kinds of different creative ways to develop that in the most appropriate way that balances the character that we want in the town, the things our residents are looking for, but also add some capabilities that maybe aren't available in the broader region today. We did do a survey of our residents last year to get a good idea of the kind of businesses they would like to see in the town of Troy. And many of them are uniquely local in nature, so we're trying to find some ways to encourage those kinds of businesses to locate within the town, not to compete with the cities, but really to augment the things that are already available both to the north and to the south of Troy.
Thank you. And President Wekkin.
Well, I'll be short and to the point again. We've got 2 commercial properties. Right now, there's one open just as you come into town, and there's been people looking at it, but we haven't had any real plans on that yet. Gary Zappa has some little bit of ground that could be developed, but he's shown no interest in that. So, yeah, as far as commercial, there's not a lot we can do. I mean, we got the river on one side, we got Lake Mallow on the other side, and the town, of Hudson on the north side. So there's not much we can do as far as developing any kind of economic growth.
Okay. Thank you. So our communities have changed over the years. None of our communities are the same they were 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago. How do you, in each of your areas, focus on change. How do you manage change in your areas? And we'll start with Chairman Foster.
Of the 40-plus years I've been involved, in the 1980s, we were trying to create organization to the development coming at us because everybody wanted out of Woodbury. We had as many as 5 majors a month coming at us when I was chairing a planning commission in the 1980s. And so, like Troy and St. Joe is doing right now, we were growing like gangbusters just because they wanted out of Woodbury. And if you watch Woodbury now, that growth has started to occur over there. And it's growing crazy. So what we've started to do is try to focus on, in 1959, the town of Hudson decided they should have zoning long before the county even had zoning, and I could never figure out why, and that was because the interstate opened in 1959. So what they did was they zoned the land out by the truck stop to commercial, and the stuff by the railroad tracks to industrial, and that's all they basically did. And so in the meantime, in our comp plan, we're saying that everything along 12 has the potential for commercial light industrial. And one of the points is that in the 1980s, Marty and Rich were planning to put a Citgo station in, and that's where the Holiday Station is, by the truck stop. And I kept asking Marty, why are you not putting that Citgo station in? His comment was, there's not enough traveling public. If you don't have enough traveling public to support a commercial business, it's never going to make it. And therefore, we rezoned the backside of the commercial district behind the truck stop to commercial light industrial. Those are businesses that don't have to have a lot of traveling public for sales. And that's what Doug was alluding to when he talked about it. So as our comp plan says, we're going to see more businesses develop because the area is growing in population. You'll have enough traveling public to be able to do that. And so the city will keep pushing out and taking land and developing it because there's more development there. And that's what happens. And so we just need to work with them in conjunction with them as we as a community grow in that process. So it will change. That's it.
And Chair Johnson.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry that my phone was ringing. I thought I turned it off, and then someone who knows both my cell phone's numbers called them both at the same time. Lord. Anyway, the town of St. Joseph has always been a rural community, lots of farms, and I have seen those farms start to get chopped up as those farmers have aged, because the land is more valuable to put housing or businesses on than it is to farm on it. And I grew up in Pierce County, the oldest daughter of a farmer. I understand that very, very well. And so our people who live in our town, in the review of the comprehensive plan and the vision of going forward, still want that rural character. If you want rural character in a town, it's going to take land to do that. You can't park houses right next to each other and think you're going to see that rural character. So we've implemented ordinance rules, et cetera, that allow us to preserve land where you may have a 3-acre lot, but half your lot is in a conservation easement that protects it and prevents you from cutting down all the trees or filling in all the, ditches and waterways. So we try to maintain that rural character, and that's one of the reasons we went forward with putting our industrial commercial development over by the interchange, is to kind of put that there on that flat land that's farmland right now that will not be farmland 20 years from now. We've had people who've inquired about it. We're just not quite there. We're a little bit behind on that, but in the past, without the crossing, we didn't have anybody really looking for a lot. Now that that crossing has been built and is used as much as it is, I'm telling you, people are now being more aware of what's capable and possible in the town of St. Joseph. So it's important for us to try to maintain that rural look that, as was stated here, you don't see in the city or the village, and that's what people are looking for, but also to provide someplace where people can work also, and that's what will be there in the future, we hope.
Thank you. Mayor O'Connor.
I apologize. Could you repeat the question?
Yes. How do you manage change in your community?
Okay. So managing, let me get this out. This is part of what I wanted to say originally. We have a brand new city administrator coming in, Brent Mahalik. Great guy, and we look forward to having him on board. He comes in the beginning of June. He's going to be, instrumental in managing this, along with Mike Johnson with our community development department. So a lot of this has to do with, you've heard with the comprehensive plans, you've heard them referenced here a number of times. Comprehensive plan is something, it's a guideline that we all look to for, it's something that's consistent. As policymakers are elected, unelected, retire, move on, you have the guidelines, the roadmap that is consistent, it's still there. And so that's primarily what we look to. We are also right now in the middle of updating our zoning codes and trying to accommodate what the future is going to look like for the city. So I don't know that that is sufficient answer or not, but I don't hear any bells or whistles going off.
You've got 42 seconds. The downtown, we've heard that, we don't want to change our downtown. We want to keep it historic. How do you manage through these types of changes?
That's a really good point, and I would like to spend a lot of time on that, but I can't. But you've heard this. Things change. Theresa was just talking about that, where you have essentially a rural community that would like to try to hang on to some of that identity, but things change, and especially with everything we're talking about here today was development and growth. How do you maintain the integrity of what it is that you are currently? You can't, right? It's a snapshot in time. If you look back at pictures of the city of Hudson from the 1800s, you'll see pictures that don't have a single stick. Not a single tree in sight. It was all clear cut, right? All the buildings downtown were wood. Everything changes. The streets were, they were dirt. They were not even gravel. So everything changes. We cannot stay stagnant. We have to change. And especially with our downtown, we do want to maintain the integrity of the small town feel. Absolutely. But one of the things that I like to do is focus on the fact that we are a river city. And I've said this from before I got into office, and I said this when I was first campaigning. We need to re-embrace the identity of a river city. All the river cities that I know in the valley, both St. Croix and Mississippi, turned their backs to the river. It used to be the front door. One other thing that I really wanted to get in the beginning, I'm going to throw in now, how about that boardwalk that we have? And that's part of it, reclaiming our identity, enhancing our identity as a river city and trying to bring that back, that small town river city feel back to the citizens of our city and the surrounding communities.
Thank you. Chairperson Rowen.
Cautiously and slowly is my simple answer. We're also starting to update our comprehensive plan. I don't expect to see dramatic changes in the outcomes other than updating the information and maybe some fine tuning of some of our guidelines and rules for how we implement things. But to Rich's point, we are a big part of the west coast of Wisconsin. And that's a special thing that exists only in one place. And so the river is part of the specialness of Troy. It's part of the specialness of Hudson. Even the town of Hudson has a little piece just north of Troy. Maintaining that special characteristic, but then also balancing the regional needs for housing growth, commercial growth, recreation growth, all those things are going to be needed for us to continue to have a vibrant community and maintain both the heritage that we've got and move forward into the future. But we need to be cautious on how we do that so that we don't mess up something too dramatically, but still meet the needs that the market is putting in front of us, because those are real too.
Thank you. And President Wekkin.
Well, as I said earlier, there's not a lot in the village that can change. I know people that have moved into the area, I always ask them, well, why did you pick North Hudson over any other place? And they always, they like the small town, community type feel. And so, yeah, and we don't have a lot of our opportunity to change with with our size limitations and stuff. We are, like everyone else, working on our comprehensive plan, but that's mainly just because it's mandated by the state. We have to update it every, 5 or 10 years, something like that. I don't remember, but they're working on that. But yeah, we don't have much opportunity to change, so we haven't addressed that too much.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, since we're talking about the future, there's two things I want to bring up. One is the Eckerd Park, which is that commercial park that the county got the money for to purchase. It's the farmland, and most of it's in Troy, off of Highway 35 going north out by the river. That's going to change dramatically if you knew much about it, but it's moving forward with a change. It's going to be less intense. But I just wanted you to know that. The other thing I was going to tell is we talk about change. In the 1990s, I said to the DOT from Eau Claire, you really ought to look at a belt line. Just like most larger communities, the Twin Cities is going to need another 4-lane belt line around it besides 494, 694. In 1950, Highway 35 was planned to go from River Falls to Hudson. It took 50 years for that to happen. I said, if you look where I goes up to Somerset, that ought to be a 4-lane road continuing from 35 up to Somerset so that you can create that belt line around the Twin Cities. You know what their answer was? We don't like to do that, because when you do that, all the land around it gets held on to because they know it's going to become commercial land. I went to a public hearing down at Troy Township. There's an intersection proposed for Glover Road. You read all of the land around that, it's all owned by family trusts. The DOT was not wrong. So you only do those roads when you're going to do them, otherwise the land gets held forever. But we, as a community, you look forward. So even in the 1990s, I was saying, we need to look at that, and it just didn't happen.
Thank you. We're going to shift into some of the questions from our audience today, and they're not going to be for everybody, so some of them I'll be able to direct to the right person. The first one is going to be to you, Mayor O'Connor. What's the update on northeast corner of 94 and Carmichael, otherwise known as Accident Alley?
All right. I mean, the simple answer to that is that it's stuck with the DOT. And the DOT has changed their tune on this dramatically in the last, since like 2018. You may recall that they came in here 2014 to 2016 with the dog and pony show with all the designs and how they were going to change the interchange down there to make it easier for people to get on and off, widen Carmichael, widen the bridge, and then all of a sudden it just went silent. There was a lot of money, resources, energy that was spent on developing that design, and then all of a sudden it was shelved. And so we asked them what happened, and we have met with them I don't know how many times on that interchange, and they keep telling us nothing is going to happen until the year 2040. That's what they're saying now. All right. Well, and if you own that property, I mean, we're talking a lot about property owners here today. If you own that property, what happens? Your property is in limbo for what, until 2040? And they're paying taxes on that. And so we called in the owners of the property and told them that, we thought that they should probably try to go ahead with any type of design that they had for proposals they had for development of that property, and let the chips fall where they may with the DOT. We informed the DOT that that's exactly what we were going to do. They weren't happy about it, but they've been involved in the discussions in the process so far. So there was a design that came our way, a proposal, nothing that we could act on yet at the city council, but they wanted to put us on notice that the Cub Foods would like to take that lot or portion of it. Hudson Physicians would like to have a portion of that lot for development of oncology and heart. We would love that. We would love to make Hudson a nice medical campus. We still have Mayo hanging out there. That's on the other side of the freeway. But as far as that piece of property, that's where we're at. And that's kind of put on hold based upon, again, waiting for the DOT to weigh in just a little bit with the owners of the property and the people that want to develop.
Thank you. For anyone on the panel, we know that housing is a continued issue, especially for our workforce. Our chamber members have spoken that they have a hard time finding workers, as well as individuals that can live and work in this community. What are your communities doing in regards to workforce housing? Anybody can step up and go first.
Well, I will. It's a dilemma. There's no doubt about it. I mean, one of the things people think that government can do something about this. You know, that's not what we do, especially with communities our size. We don't have the resources to go out and purchase property and develop housing like they might in bigger cities like St. Paul, Minneapolis. We wait for developers to come to us with proposals. And like I said, you know, the city is landlocked, so any proposal for additional development for housing is going to involve annexation of property, right? So, and I told you the properties that are available. You've heard this. The river is our western boundary. We can't expand that way. We are bound by the town of Hudson and by Troy and by North Hudson. And there's very little that we can do unless property owners come in and say they have a piece of property that they have designs on that they would like to have annexed, and for the purpose of whatever. I told you about the housing proposal that has come our way so far on that. I wish Woodbridge, is that, Doug, am I getting it? What?
Off Tower?
Yeah.
Tower Road.
The property owner, is it
Woodruff?
Woodruff, yeah. So they have come to us with a proposal, and again, it's a little more dense housing than what we've seen before. Necessary, no doubt about it. But that's the type of thing that we're going to be seeing going forward. And then, of course, the Gagnon development downtown, which was, you know, it was 108, 110 units, and they're taking a top off or the top floor off, and I don't know how many units they're going to be dropping, but I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And we just wait for other opportunities to come in for development and annexation.
I think
Go ahead.
I think it's difficult for the towns to have high-density development because we don't have water sewer, and that really is what drives that housing in our towns. The town of St. Joseph, under their zoning rules, does allow a secondary residence on a lot with a conditional use permit, so we do have that open to people. But as far as high-density apartment-type housing, it's not going to happen in the towns without water and sewer. It's just not.
And because of the rural character that they talked about, we just tried to pass the area basically by Red Cedar Canyon. There was 16 lots that we wanted. One of the residents wanted to take 3.5 to spin it off into a 1 acre lot for their daughter to build a house. Our town board turned that down, those 16 lots to 1 acres, because they wanted the rural character. It's city all the way around, you know, in the middle of it. I didn't understand the logic, but so the land is the part that's the most expensive. Yeah. And we don't have a Sammy Miller, if you will, building starter homes anymore in the area. And therefore, I've tried to explain that to the school district. We just, the million, 2 homes that are going up don't put kids in grade school. You know, I'm sorry. That's a fact of life.
Thank you. Anyone else to that question? Okay, next question. This is to Doug and Tim. The Highway 35 corridor and Exit 4 are one of the next big development opportunities beyond Exit 2. This development will shape the future of our county. Please explain what steps are being taken to thoughtfully and intentionally develop the crucial economic catalyst.
Well, I can talk about that from the 35 corridor and specifically in the town of Troy. All of the property along the Highway 35 corridor in our comprehensive plan and in our zoning is identified as what we call eligible for commercial development, which means it's already effectively pre-approved for being rezoned from agriculture or residential as it is today into a commercial characteristic if somebody wants to do that. So from a zoning standpoint, we're poised to have that activity happen. Then it gets into the specific economics of an individual property owner selling to an individual developer that wants to do that development work in a cost-effective way that meets the market needs that are really out there. The other challenge that kind of overlays on top of that, and Tim touched on it a little bit, is making sure that the road infrastructure is optimized for that. And that's something that, because most of our roads are not designed for heavy commercial traffic in the rural areas. So even the feeder roads and frontage roads, you might say, we're starting to develop. Most of them are mapped out as to where they would go when that commercial development comes in, but most of them are not constructed yet. So that becomes another piece of when that commercial development happens, then those roads will also be built too. So we have done a lot of road mapping and basically keeping the land available so those roads can be built when the time comes that they're needed, but not trying to build them proactively because we don't have the resources and the funding to do that. So the road infrastructure will have to be developed along with the commercial development, but the basic framework for having that happen is in place. It's just a matter of having the right economic piece. We do have some challenges on the southern part of our town where developers, because of some extraterritorial plat review rules from the city to the south, say that we can't subdivide to lots less than 10 acres. And most commercial development that is desired or has been desired in those areas have been lots less than 10 acres, because there's a lot of commercial stuff you can do on 1 acre or 2 acres or 3 acres or 5 acres. And so that's been a restriction at the southern end of that corridor. But the rest of it doesn't have that kind of restriction on it.
Chairman Foster, anything to add?
Yeah, I will, only to the extent, most of 35, and you look at those, even the interchange that I mentioned at Glover, they talked about all that road planning that Doug talked about. That's a 4-lane interchange that accord with an overhead pass and everything. The state was only willing to put in a on-ramp going north and an exit ramp going south, and Troy had to pay for the rest. The stuff coming off a tower, whoever wants to develop that where the open land is has to put the interchange in. The town of Hudson out on 12, just like what Rich Pat talked about with Carmichael, the state came in and said, we're going to put a roundabout there on both sides, or a circular exit over where Patty Ryan's was on that side, and on Pearson's land on the other side. There was a Super America proposed when Don Jordan was chair over on Pearson's land, and I said, that's right where the DOT was going to put their interchange. You need to talk to Eau Claire before you come back. Guess what? We never saw him again, because the DOT said, well, you can put your gas station there, but we don't know when we're going to do it. But when we do, you're going to have to move. And they went, I guess we're not going to put our gas station there. So that's what happens when those areas where he's right, you need to have the road and the infrastructure for it to occur. But until it's there, your businesses won't go into those locations.
So we're going to wrap up with some closing remarks from each one of our leaders, as well as what are you most proud of about your communities. But before that, thank you for all the questions. Some amazing questions. We couldn't get to all of them. I have one here for the mayor to consider. You don't have to respond on this. But during the I-94 construction, the chamber has been promoting that Hudson is open for business. Is it possible for the city to ease parking restrictions to further support some of the businesses? Just something for you to think about. Okay. Turn the meters off for a while. That's what they're saying, I think. Okay, with that, final comments.
I just want to, so that as people are coming through town and don't want to wait in the queue for 2 or 3 hours, they can park for free and take up all the parking spaces downtown. So
I didn't write the question. I'm just reading the question.
I just want to understand it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just to support the businesses. So, okay. So final questions. We'll start with you, Chairman Foster. Some final remarks, and then what are you most proud of your community?
I think it is keeping the rural character, even though we're developing. It is. And yet you try to make everybody happy, which you know you're not going to, but it's a growing community, and our taxes are probably close to the lowest in the state of Wisconsin. And it's because we don't spend a lot of money. And part of that's because until last year, the state had froze our levy since 2003. All we could go up was by the percentage of increase, which means all of our costs have been going up over the last 2 decades, and it's made it tough. Things have slowed down on road construction. We had to borrow money. They'd allow you to borrow money, but they wouldn't allow you to increase the levy to pay for those roads. And you can pay interest on it, but you can't just raise the levy. It's like you can raise the levy and borrow and pay interest too. It's like, really? Does that make any sense? It doesn't, but that's what the rules said. So, no, that's it. I'm
You
done.
still have a minute.
I know, I'm okay.
Okay, Chair Johnson.
Thank you again for having us. We do appreciate being able to be here and be in front of you and talk about our communities. I'm proud of St. Joseph and the strides that we've made to handle the growth coming in from that new river crossing. I think we are staged for the future. We've done a good job in revising our ordinances, looking at planning. We've put our infrastructure in place for an engineering firm that represents us that does a great job. And I think we plan well, and I think in the future it will make our future decisions much easier because of the plans that we did now. So I welcome you to take a drive out at any time. We have some great parkland out there that abuts up to Homestead Park. It's called the Preserve off of Valley View. It's rough but beautiful, and it's our newest acquisition. So feel free to come out and visit us anytime and watch the new town hall as it rises from the ground.
And see the new fire truck.
And the new fire truck. It'll be out and about.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Mayor O'Connor.
You know, first of all, I want to back up a second. I want to talk about parking real quick.
You've only got 2 minutes.
People are under the impression that the fees for parking go to the general fund. The city does not make money off of parking. The parking system that you have now, and the reason that we have parking the way it is because of input from people like you from the Chamber of Commerce. We have a parking committee that is setting the rules for parking, and the majority of those folks are business owners, and what they're looking for is turnover down there. And there were too many people that were parking all day and not allowing other people to come in and take advantage of the businesses that we have downtown. So parking is in direct response to requests coming from the business folks. What am I most proud of with the City of Hudson? Well, first of all, again, as everybody else here is saying, thank you so much for having us. I really enjoy coming here and talking about our city. I always do. The thing I'm most proud of are the people in the City of Hudson. We have a great, great community. And obviously, we've seen a lot of growth over the years. As was said earlier, I moved my family over here in 1999. A lot of people did the same thing. The majority of folks that live in Hudson right now are not native Hudsonites. They're coming from elsewhere. And so, but they have acclimated and and wanted to live in Hudson. I'm most proud of the people that are here and how they respond and interact with one another. It's a peaceful community. It's not always going to be that way. The next few months could be really trying. But we have a community of people that want to listen to one another. We promote respect and civility and among everyone here. And people can talk to one another. And I think that's most important, and that's something that I really want to continue to promote. And it's one of the things that I think we are known for here in Hudson is how friendly the people are and how we respect and get along with each other.
Whoa, that was right on. Nicely done.
What did you mean right on?
The buzzer.
Both of them. Both of them.
Is that like a right on? Or,
Right on. Chairperson Rowen.
I was going to say the residents and the organizations that call Troy home. They're the ones that have created both the rural environment and community we have, but also work to manage this balance of growth and activity. From the families that live there to YMCA Camp St. Croix, our 2 golf courses, the Carpenter Nature Center, the St. Croix Railroad, which is really cool if you haven't seen that. Just the things that go on in Troy are really create a wonderful, tight-knit community. neighborhoods the way neighborhoods should be, where for the most part people get along, and then a large group of people who live in and work to preserve the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway. We got 6.5 miles that are now protected federally and state-wise, and the residents of Troy generally try to keep that for long-term posterity like they're supposed to. So it's the people that makes our community at the end of the day.
Thank you. And President Wekkin.
I would echo what the rest of the municipality leaders have said. Proud of our people. I mean, we have a very diverse community of different backgrounds as people move into the area, and everybody gets along in a nice, quiet, small community. I'm extremely proud of our police department, our public works, and our administrative people that we've got in the village. They've been, well, that's part of what makes the community what it is to having people work together and to get to try to address the taxpayers' needs and spend their money wisely.
Chris?
Yes.
I got one more that we haven't talked about. And that's the fire district for Hudson and EMS. I've been involved with that for over 20 years, and I'm really proud of it. And it's amazing the service that they provide for our community and things that we never talk about out there. Example, when St. Croix EMS we were struggling trying to make it pay. We were paying $17 per resident to keep that, $7 per resident to keep it running. It should have been $34. Lakeview came in and provides that service for free. I don't want to get into why that happens, but it's a billing process of how it happens. But they provide a service that's amazing to us in our entire community. The fire department is North Hudson, Troy, Town of Hudson, City of Hudson. We're all part of that group, and our call response and everything, we work together as a committee. And so we have an auto response with the St. Joe Fire Department and with St. Joe, with the Warren. And the reason for that is in the 1980s, our homeowners insurance was thrown in if you had both cars. Now you look at your homeowners insurance and where it's going because of the hailstorms. It's going right through the roof. And so what happened was about in the early 2000s, I'll give you 2 seconds. In the early 2000s, they said if you live 5 miles outside of your area, we're going to increase your homeowner's insurance dramatically. So by going to auto aid where the 911 service calls both fire departments, we put a whole lot of people in the town of Hudson with Warren. It was 900 homes. Their insurance dropped because of that connection of doing auto aid, calling both fire departments. So we're doing all of that, and that's all in the background that you never hear about.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that.
All right, well, please join me in thanking our fabulous leaders. Thank you for your time being here today, and thank you for your continued leadership. I know sometimes it may feel like a thankless job, but please know that we do appreciate all the time and hard work that you put into making these communities great. And thank you to Chris for serving as our moderator today. If you had a question that was submitted that wasn't responded to, I'm going to ask if I can send those questions out, and then if you all respond to me in the next 24, 48 hours, that would be fabulous. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I want to thank CCH again for hosting and sponsoring our fabulous forum today and for the fabulous breakfast that they provided. Thank you. Applications are now open for our Leadership Hudson program, so you will see brochures on the table as you leave. We have a couple Leadership Hudson graduates here in our room today, so please feel free to ask any questions that you may have, but we'd love to have you be a part of that program. Look forward to seeing you at upcoming events. We have a lot of fun things coming up. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again.